He just wanted to buy groceries, but his red MAGA hat instantly made him an enemy in the cashier's eyes. Her disdain grew with every second, turning a simple shopping trip into a public humiliation. None of them had any idea that the man standing before them was the owner of the store, and his response to what happened turned the entire situation upside down. Let's start from the beginning. It was a sunny morning when John McGregor, a man in his early 50s, entered the supermarket. He had a commanding presence, tall, with a fit build, graying temples, and an air of calm confidence. The bright red MAGA hat on his head drew immediate attention, like a beacon in the crowd. Some people in line whispered to each other, while others gave him disapproving looks. John didn't seem to care. He was entirely focused on his shopping list, calmly filling his cart. As he approached the checkout counter, he was greeted by a cashier named Lisa. She was about 25, with short purple hair, oversized skull-shaped earrings, and a bold makeup look that screamed attitude. Her expression turned sour the moment her eyes landed on John's hat. She froze for a second before dramatically rolling her eyes so far back it seemed like they might fall out. "Oh, look, another great mind in a MAGA hat," she sneered, skipping the usual polite greeting. John looked at her calmly, his lips curling into a slight smile. "Good morning. Seems like you're in a cheerful mood," he replied. Lisa ignored his comment, her eyes narrowing as she continued to glare at his hat. "Yeah, we don't serve people like you here," she declared loudly. The line behind John began to grow. People started whispering, and someone even pulled out their phone to record. John, still composed, raised an eyebrow. "Is that your personal policy or the store's?" he asked. Lisa crossed her arms defiantly. "It's my policy, but I'm pretty sure management would agree. People like you ruin this country." John remained unfazed, locking eyes with her. "Well, that's an interesting approach to customer service," he said coolly. The crowd behind John started murmuring louder. A man in a tracksuit at the back of the line shouted, "Can you just ring him up already? Some of us have places to be." But Lisa paid no attention to the growing frustration of the customers. "I'm not obligated to serve someone who wears a symbol of hatred," she said, her voice growing louder with every word. John, calm as ever, began neatly placing his items back into the cart. "I understand your principles," he said, "but it seems they're interfering with your job." Lisa's face turned red with anger. "My job is to make sure people like you know their place," she snapped. At that moment, the store manager arrived. A slightly overweight man in his 40s with slicked-back hair and a tired expression approached the commotion, clearly irritated by the noise. "Lisa, what's going on here?" he asked. Lisa pointed accusingly at John. "This man is wearing a MAGA hat and I refuse to serve him." The manager looked from Lisa to John, visibly confused. "Lisa, the store doesn't have a political stance. We serve everyone." Lisa wasn't having it. "Well, maybe you should leave with him then if you're so supportive," she shouted, her voice dripping with defiance. The man recording in the crowd chuckled. "This is gold. Mind if I post this online?" John smirked and looked at the manager. "Perhaps we should call the owner to clarify the store's policy," he said, his tone calm but firm. The manager frowned. "I'm afraid that's not possible, sir. The owner rarely visits the store." John let out a small chuckle, taking off his red hat. "Well, you're in luck. I happen to be the exception. My name is John McGregor, and I own this store, and about 20 others across the country." The crowd gasped audibly. Lisa turned pale, her earlier confidence evaporating into sheer panic. This has to be a joke," she stammered, glancing nervously at the manager. The manager looked as though he might faint. Mr. McGregor, I didn't realize. he began, fumbling for words. John waved him off. "It's fine," he said, pulling out his phone. "But it seems we have a bit of an issue with corporate policy adherence." He made a quick call, speaking calmly but decisively. "Yes, this is McGregor. Could you send someone from HR to this location? We've got a situation." Meanwhile, the video being recorded by a customer was already gaining traction online. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder, with some expressing admiration for John's composure and others shaking their heads at Lisa's audacity. When John finished his call, he turned back to Lisa. "You know, this could have been just another routine day at work for you, but you decided to make it a teachable moment." 15 minutes later, an HR representative arrived, a stern-looking woman in her mid-30s with a clipboard in hand. She quickly assessed the situation, reviewed the video, and took statements from witnesses. Lisa tried to defend herself, but her voice shook, and her excuses grew increasingly flimsy. "It was just a misunderstanding. I was standing up for my principles," she blurted. "Your principles just cost this store a significant PR issue," the HR representative replied coldly. "You're fired." Lisa froze, her face turning bright red. Then, with her head down, she stormed out of the store to the sound of applause from the crowd. John watched her leave, then turned to the cashier and smiled. "Well, can I check out now?" he asked the manager. The crowd burst into laughter. A man in the back shouted, "Hey, Mr. McGregor, got any openings for president?" John chuckled and replied, "For now, I'm sticking to retail. But who knows?" With that, he calmly walked out of the store, leaving behind an atmosphere of justice and a story no one would forget anytime soon.